Hi everybody, welcome to Temple Talk live stream. This is Monique with the Temple of Underworld Studies. And before we get started on today's topic, I wanted to make a couple of announcements. First of all, as some of you may have noticed, I've made a couple little changes for the new year. I decided that the live stream, which I had previously began coining under a different name, I changed the name from Ask Auntie Witch to the Temple Talk live stream. It just seemed a little more, I don't know, a little more streamlined. Ask Auntie Witch was cute, but it didn't really seem to be catching on too much. So I've made the change, and also, as you've noticed, probably the time has changed for the forum. So instead of 9:30 every Tuesday morning, it's now going to be at 11 o'clock. Every Tuesday morning. It was just easier, not only for myself, but from some of the feedback I've gotten from the people who wanted to tune into the show. 9:30 was just too early, or it just wasn't a good time for a lot of people. So 11 o'clock works out better for most people, from what I understand, including myself. So today's topic, first, a couple of announcements. I am seriously considering running for anybody who's local to the Grass Valley area, I'm seriously considering running the Fundamentals of Ritual Magic class live in my living room. Again, for anybody who's local, but it would require probably at least 4 or 5 people minimum to make it worth actually running the class this year, to do it in person. So if you are local to the area and you are interested in this training in person as an alternative to the online class, which is available right now, you're welcome to send me a private message, or actually a private message might be easiest, and ask to be put on the mailing list. And if I get enough people interested for an in-person year-long class, like I did with my first group of ladies, I will run another season of the Fundamentals of Ritual Magic class for newcomers if there is a need and desire for it. Otherwise, if you're not local to my area, the Fundamentals of Ritual Magic class is available on my website online through the membership site at www.templeofunderworldstudies.com. Everything is pretty self-explanatory there on the website. You're welcome to go through the 3 or 4 free video tutorial on the class and decide if it's something you want to sign up for. If you do sign up online, it's a year-long class. The content will be given to you on a drip content every month. You can go at it at your own pace. You will be given access to a Facebook Live classroom, or not a Facebook Live. Well, I will be doing Facebook Live in the classroom, but you'll have access to the class Facebook page in order to interact with an online community who is involved in that class. So that is an option. The other class I am considering redoing again this year sometime, and I don't know when, is my Introduction to Tarot class, which covers a lot of the hermetic aspects of traditional Western mystery traditions, hermetic tarot. And we go into a lot of the roots of the hermetic imagery of classic tarot cards. We talk about some of the Kabbalistic numerology involved, the Hebrew letters assigned to each card. So there's just a little bit of Kabbalah, just very, very minuscule Kabbalah training that goes with the class in order to understand the roots of tarot. And then we talk about also some tips for doing the 10-card Celtic cross spread, and a little bit about ethics of tarot reading for people. It's a really good class. There's a lot of meat in the class. I've run it once here at my home locally, and it was a big hit, and I've got 4 or 5 people on a waiting list to do it again. So if there is any more interest for anybody local to the area, please also don't hesitate to contact me to get put on the waiting list. So with some of that housekeeping aside, let's get to the topic for today, which is the creation of the Astral Temple for personal health and healing. Now, this topic came to me as a result of a special request from my good friend Rex Williams, who pointed out to me that some people might really, sorry, my nose itches. Some people might really benefit from experiencing some guided meditations on my live streams. So Rex, this one's for you. This is a fairly simple but very effective meditation that can be taught to many beginners or people who aren't even practicing ritual. This is useful for you also. I call it finding your happy place. So it's a technique. The Astral Temple is a technique that we cover. Actually, in my program, we cover much more of the psychic development topics in my second year of priestess training for the people that want to take my priestess Wiccan training classes, which is basically a 3-year curriculum of a 3-degree initiation program. So a lot of the psychic development skills I don't cover until the second year. For the 2nd degree level of training. But this is a simple enough technique that anybody can use it, and I'm going to go ahead and share it with you today because it's really effective and it's really helpful both with stress reduction and as just a really nice way to spend 15-20 minutes of your day every day in your little happy place. So I'm going to help you get to this place and give you a few tips and a few pieces of advice for how to use this meditation for your personal needs on a daily or a weekly basis. So to move into this concept, first of all, one of the things it's going to require is an ability to learn to breathe properly, and it's going to require a little bit of effort on your part with some visualization exercises. So the first thing I want to talk about is just a basic breathing technique. And actually, let me back up a little bit. The first thing we're going to talk about is where you want to do this meditation. So ideally, what you're going to need to do, if this is something you want to do regularly, and I recommend this for any type of meditation practice, no matter what tradition you're studying or following, is that you find some place in your home that is quiet and serene and comfortable and happy to you, that is your meditation place, whether it's your favorite chair, whether it's a room that you can dedicate that nobody else is going to come in and use and disrupt. Maybe you have an altar in this place. Maybe you have some little personal ritual space. If you are a practitioner already dedicated, that's certainly recommended also. But the first step in this exercise is to investigate your home and figure out where you want to sit to do this, and make it so that every time you do this meditation, you do it in the same location. Because what happens over time is that your energy builds up in this location. Your psychic energy tends to build up the more you use it and the more you meditate in this particular place and keep this a dedicated meditation place. The more the spiritual power and the more the relaxation and the more serenity builds up in that space, so that every time you sit down to use it, every time you meditate, you are able to get into a relaxed and serene state much more quickly each time, because the place is charged already with that relaxation and spiritual energy, and the space will hold that energy. So that's the first thing, is find a dedicated place in your house if you can. Now, some people have difficulty with this. If you have a busy household and kids running around everywhere, you might not have a corner of your house that's really truly quiet and isolated where you can shut the door and take some time out. So if it's too difficult to do that, that's fine. You can sit in your car. You can sit under a tree outside if the weather's good. You can go to the park or whatever. Do whatever you need to do to find a quiet place to be able to do this. But ideally, in a perfect world, if you have a dedicated place in your house to do this on a regular basis, that's always best. So step 2 is to talk about a very simple relaxation breathing process. Now, The easiest thing to do for most people when they're learning to meditate is to sit in a chair. If you're a yoga practitioner and you're able to sit on the floor with crossed legs in your asana positions, that's great. Power to you, go for it. But a lot of people, if you're not very flexible and if you're not used to meditating, if you don't do it and if you don't do any kind of physical yoga or practice, sitting on the floor is going to be really difficult for you. So the best thing to do is to find a nice straight back chair, sit in the chair with your hands, palms down, resting on the tops of your thighs and your feet flat on the floor. This is the most comfortable way for most people to do some basic meditation exercises. If you need to put a little pillow for some lumbar support in your low back, do so. Fix your chair in whatever way is going to make your body the most comfortable and the most relaxed. So that's step 2, is finding your chair to sit in. And step 3 is going to be the beginning of your breathing exercises. Now, in the ceremonial magic tradition, we like to use what is called the 4-fold breath technique. And this is a very, very simple technique. And basically, all it requires of you to do is to breathe in very slowly to the count of 4 and breathe out very slowly to the count of 4 in an equal rhythm. So inhaling, exhaling, and you can count to 4 in your head while you're doing this to yourself. You can do this for several minutes. I recommend, especially in the beginning, the one thing you're going to really want to focus on is your breathing in the beginning. Now, most people don't actually know how to breathe properly. And what a lot of people tend to do is they breathe with the upper portion of their chest, which does a lot of things that aren't really very good for you. And the first thing it does is it forces you to use your neck muscles to inhale when you breathe from your chest. And when you breathe from your chest, you are typically breathing in a very shallow way. And people that hold a lot of stress and a lot of tension in their bodies are upper chest breathers. So because we tend to hold our breath and we tend to tense up and our upper body tenses up and the front of your neck muscles tense up, you probably have a lot of tension in your shoulders and the back of your head and the back of your neck as well. You can also tend to clench your jaws when you breathe like this, and you're not really getting enough oxygen in your bloodstream, because to breathe properly, you need to be able to use the full range of motion within your diaphragm, and the only way you can do that is to actually breathe very deep down into your belly. Now, a little note on belly breathing. We live in America, and this deep belly breathing is something that is particularly difficult for women because we are so conditioned to believe that we have to have flat stomachs and we have to suck everything in to be pretty and skinny, right? This is a conditioning that a lot of us just really need to like throw out the window, because in reality, for your body to get the full benefit of the oxygen in your bloodstream, you need to be able to relax your lower belly and actually let that lower part of your belly hang out a little bit, which is really uncomfortable for a lot of women to do. It takes some getting used to, because we're just, like I said, we're just so used to feeling body shame issues on a regular basis that it's kind of hard for us to just let our bodies be comfortable and relaxed. So as you're taking that first inhalation down into your belly, you're actually going to push your lower belly out a little more and allow your diaphragm to fully expand, because the power of your lungs to draw oxygen in should come from your diaphragm, not from your neck muscles. And this is going to do two things. It's going to get more oxygen in your body, which is going to relax the muscles faster, and it's also going to get more oxygen to your brain, and you're going to experience a sense of mental and physical relaxation much more quickly than if you're trying to breathe from up here. Typically, if you're trying to breathe from up here, you're very close to, that's just one step short of hyperventilating. at that point. So a lot of people that do have a lot of tension and anxiety and a tendency towards hyperventilation will also tend to breathe from up here, and it's just not very good for you. So a lot of people, probably almost 90% of people in this entire nation, need to be completely retrained and learn how to breathe properly in order to get optimal oxygenation to the bloodstream in the brain. So that's something that you may have to take a couple of weeks to just work on before you even start the visualization exercises I'm about to give you. So sitting quietly with your back straight, your lumbar supported, your hands face down on the tops of your thighs. Let me see if I can, I don't think my camera will, yeah, the camera's not going to do it. I don't have a tripod for my webcam, so I can't get a full visual of me sitting in the chair. So you're going to spend probably 5 or 10 minutes just with this breathing exercise, and this is going to help you quiet your mind. And that's all I want you to focus on in the beginning, is just close your eyes, ground your feet out on the floor, and I want you to imagine that the bottoms of your feet are very hollow, as if your body was like a hose, and let any excess energy and tension drain down through your legs, out through the bottoms of your feet, and straight into the earth. You might feel a little sensation in the bottom of your feet, like a little tingling when you actually start to do that visualization. That's a good thing, because it's usually a fairly relaxing thing. So if you get that little tingling at the bottom of your feet, then you kind of know that you've grounded yourself and made a connection there. And we're going to talk about grounding and earthing techniques next Tuesday. But it's important to kind of ground your energy out first. And then as you do that, as you feel that connection with your feet on the ground, you'll start to notice, maybe subtly at first, that the rest of your body just starts to automatically relax. And it's like somebody's just kind of like sucking all that energy down out of you into the earth, and you just kind of take a deep breath and let it all go. So start there, and then once you feel that sense of connection, then start focusing on your 4-count breathing. And you're just going to breathe in very slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for just a second. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the important thing about this also is not to force your breathing. If you have been a shallow breather for a long time, your diaphragm muscle is going to be really tight. And the deeper you try to take a breath in, you'll notice, some of you, that you'll actually feel a bit of a shaking sensation in your diaphragm as you try to inhale deeper. So this is because your diaphragm is not relaxed, and it's that shaking sensation is a result of the tension of the diaphragm muscle being contracted on a regular basis. So try not to force it too much. You might only be able to take kind of half of a deep breath in the first few times. So just kind of find where your threshold is for that first couple of inhalations, and don't try to push past it too much. If you force it too much, it'll be harder to relax. If you just kind of find the threshold of how far your diaphragm can expand and let it be at that threshold, and then exhale the air and then breathe in again, you'll find that each time that diaphragm will start to relax a little more. And hi Rex, how you doing? This, Rex, I'm dedicating this for you. This is your guided meditation technique. So as you breathe in the second or third time, if you don't force it too much, you'll notice that the diaphragm starts to relax a lot more. And over the course of 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, you'll be able to take deeper and deeper breaths if you come at it from a more of a relaxed place. So focus for a few minutes on this 4-fold breath, breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4, breathing out, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as I said, for the first couple of times you try the meditation, this might be the only thing you want to concentrate on. Once you get the 4-fold breath down, the next thing to do is to begin the process of your visualization, which is the part where you create your own personal astral temple. Now, what does this mean? Well, in magic, in ritual magic, we spend a great deal of time utilizing our imagination. And the thing that makes magic more efficient from daydreaming is that as magicians, we understand that the imagination can be trained in very specific ways to accomplish very specific things. Now, this is going to make a lot of sense to people who are able to utilize visualization techniques and things like dream boards for, the law of attraction and active manifesting things that you want in your life. It's the same basic principle. But in this meditation exercise, this is just going to be more about learning to relax and receive guidance, relaxation, and assistance from your higher self. So the technique is really pretty simple. All you really need to do is visualize in your mind the place you like to be best. It could be sitting on a beach at the ocean. It could be a room that you really love. It could be a fantasy room, your ideal fantasy space that you love to sit in. You can decorate this room any way you want in your imagination. You could be a grassy meadow out in a field. It could be anything. Your imagination, whatever is your happy place, I want you to create a vision or image of this place. When I was a really little girl, I had this sort of little fantasy place, which was this big open grassy meadow with a little, it was like a little pond with a little waterfall, and there were like crystals everywhere, and there was a horse in the field with me. I mean, it was this, so the sky's the limit with how you want to create the image of what I call your happy place. So you can have fun with this. So as you're relaxing and doing this breath work, then you can just sort of fade off into this place and create it for yourself. And you might want to spend a few days or a couple of weeks doing absolutely nothing other than creating this place in your imagination that you go to every time you meditate. Now, once the place is created, the next step, and that takes as long as it takes, the next step is for you to actually be able to sit down in your meditation and be able to use this place for a specific intention. So what I recommend doing is, once you have created this visualization in your head, that you create as well some sort of spirit guide, call it whatever you want to call it, your spirit guide, your higher self, and give it a form. Give it some sort of a intelligence, whether it looks like a human body or whether it looks like an angel or whether it looks like an animal guide, whatever it is, create a symbol to represent your higher self and the guidance you need to receive, and populate your place with this guide, so that this guide actually lives and moves and has its being in this place at all times. So when you go to this place, you can be in the presence of this intelligence, which is the representative of your higher spiritual self in times of need. And you can then learn to interact with this, with the imagined image of this guide. You can ask it questions, and then you can learn how to be receptive as to what its answers are. So let me give you a little example. Let's say, for example, that I am experiencing a problem that I just don't know how to deal with. Maybe there's a person in my life that I just don't know how to deal with. So I sit down and meditate, and I go into this place that I've created, and my spirit guide in my imagination approaches me, and I have some sort of visual gimmick for being able to interact with and talk to this guide. Now, the best technique for getting guidance from your astral spirit guide in your astral temple is to try not to talk to it in words, because the subconscious mind thinks in images. So as you communicate your problem, try to communicate it in pictures rather than in words. And this is going to take a little bit of training, because we're used to thinking and hearing ourselves talk in our heads, but that's not how the subconscious communicates. So rather than speaking words, and sometimes that's going to happen and it's okay, but it's a little more effective to actually project images of your problem to the guide that you are interacting with. And then once you do that, turn that problem over and completely surrender it, and don't think about it anymore, and just wait. So you want to move from being an active, from a place of active imagination to a place of passive receptivity to whatever that guide wants to communicate back to you. And what you'll notice is that you might start getting spontaneous images that are not consciously generated by you at that point. And that's the point that you'll realize that this higher self is starting to actually give information back to you. And if you're anything like me, you are always going to be surprised at what comes back. And it'll be something that you never saw coming, or that you completely unexpected. You might be transported to a memory from childhood. You might be transported to something else that you realize you need to work through that might be causing this problem. Whatever the case, be receptive to the images that come back to you, and see if it makes any sense to you. So at that point, then it's a little hard to describe the experience that I've had so many times. So pardon me if I'm stuttering a little bit, because I'm kind of trying to take a complex idea and explain it in a conscious way, which is not the easiest thing to do. So as you receive this information, take it in, and you might find your mind is problem solving or making connections or doing whatever it needs to do to make sense of the imagery that's coming back to you. And then once you do that, once again, just let go. Let go of the problem. Don't even think about it anymore. And just sit and soak in the vibration of this happy place you've created. If you do this right, if you can learn what it feels like at a sensory level to surrender this problem and relax your mind, so that you're not spinning it around in your brain, you surrender it, you give it over to the guide that you've created, and you let the guide handle it, and then you relax your brain and just sit and enjoy your place. And with practice and with time, what you'll find is you may start to experience deeper shifts in your meditation state, and you might experience that at a very physical level. For me, when I know that I'm really going into an altered place, into a much deeper state of relaxation, I will feel this really strange little shift. It's almost like if I imagine I'm in my body, right? You know that feeling you get when you're in an elevator and the elevator's going down and all of a sudden it goes whoop, like that, and just before it gets ready to stop? I kind of feel that in my body sometimes. I'll be sitting there and all of a sudden I'll feel like it's almost like my astral body is like jumped a little bit. And it's a very difficult sensation to describe. But when that happens, oftentimes it'll happen and I'll know that I'm in like a much deeper mental meditation place than I was when I started. And I can feel, my muscles are much more relaxed, my breathing is deeper, and it just feels different, and it should feel very deeply relaxing. And that's really all there is to it, is to just spend as long as you need to spend in this space. Pose your problem to your guide, let it go, soak in the vibration of the space, be receptive to what your guide gives back to you. And then what I recommend is and you'll know when it's time to end the session, you'll feel that you either start to come back to your regular consciousness, or maybe your guide will just indicate to you, all right, this session's over, you need to get up and go do your thing now. You'll know, you'll feel it. I recommend writing your experiences down that you saw or received or felt, because you can go back and read this a few days later and get some new insights that you didn't realize at the time, or you might start to make new connections over the days that come as to what the sources of your problems are, what potential solutions are. Another technique you can do is simply ask them, ask your guide, what can I do about this? And if there's an immediate response, perhaps your guide hands you a symbol or an object or a thing. And then what you need to do then is figure out what that symbol or object or thing means, and how you can take that back with you in the real world, and how to use it and what it means. And if you let your subconscious mind just soak that in, then eventually the answer will come to you about what that thing means. Now, if you want to be a really thorough ritualist, one thing you can do, if you have a regular magical practice and you're familiar with all of these techniques, you can actually do a little bit of a ritual cleansing before you go into your meditation ritual. And that could be anything. It could just be a simple act of taking a shower. It could be, washing your hands. It could be drinking a cleansing glass of water. Do something that is symbolic of purification before you sit down to do your deep breathing relaxation. It doesn't have to be complicated. Like I said, just jump in the shower and with the intention of cleansing all of the extraneous energy from your day, so that you can go into your meditation place clean and happy and focused and as relaxed as possible. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions about this technique, or if you have any experiences about this technique, feel free to private message me, feel free to email me. You can always email me questions at monique@templeofunderworldstudies.com. I'm happy to answer your questions. Let me know what you think of this meditation. It's kind of fun. You can have fun with it, and you don't always have to go to this astral temple if you have a problem. You can just go to relax. You can just sit there to just, like I said, be in your happy place. It doesn't always have to be working for you. But if you do have problems, and if this is a thing that you find that you have a regular meditation practice that you're doing several times a week, then the more you participate in this exercise, the stronger your visualizations are going to get, and the more you're going to get out of it over time, and the more you're going to be able to interact with this place. And you get some really, really interesting insights from the exercises. I've done this a lot over the years, and I'm always fascinated by it. So play with it a little bit, see what you think, see if it works for you, and I'm happy to assist you if you have questions. Like I said, some of these more involved psychic development exercises I don't really teach or cover for a lot of people until the second year of their Wiccan training. And there are other visualization and meditation techniques that are far more complicated than this. So this is a very simple one that just about anybody can do, and it doesn't require a lot of it doesn't require a lot of practitioner knowledge to do this. It just requires a little bit of time, a little bit of relaxation, and a little bit of creativity. So like I said, just to recap, find a dedicated place in your house that you can meditate regularly, and ideally it's not disrupted or bothered by anybody else, whether it's your favorite chair, whether it's your favorite room in the house, whether it's your favorite tree out in the yard, you know, as long as it's not raining and storming. Find a place you can go to relax and do this exercise that's comfortable for you. For those of you that can't sit on the floor and that don't do yoga, find yourself a straight back chair that you can sit in with some lower lumbar support if necessary. And once again, just to recap, the best position to sit in for a meditation exercise like this is in a chair with your back straight, both feet flat on the floor, and your hands resting on your thighs. Then the next step is to practice your breathing. You're going to have to, many of you are going to have to retrain yourselves to breathe properly. So if you missed that portion of the instruction, Rex, just go back to the beginning. When this live stream is over, you can replay it and you can get the breathing instructions. Focus on your deep breathing, get comfortable with that, and then when you're comfortable with, you know, once that sinks in and you learn how to really relax your diaphragm, do that fourfold breath and induce yourself into a state of relaxation to begin with, then you can start playing around with the creation of your personal astral temple in your imagination. And then you want to populate it with your spirit guide, and then you're good to go. And then you can just visit this place whenever you want and interact, communicate, relax, receive, enjoy, all of those things. So there's that. How are you doing, Rex? I see that you're here, but I don't see you saying anything. If you have, the other thing I wanted to mention is that, like I said, I did this live stream as a result of a special request from Rex, who is joining us right now. He said that he could really benefit from some guided meditations. So that's what the theme of this was. Having said that, I am happy to take requests from anybody. If you have specific subjects or specific questions that you would like me to cover, feel free to place a request, and if it's something I'm able to do for you, I will try to create a live stream topic for it. All right, so let's get to the tarot card for the day, or for the week, actually, since I do this once a week. I got the Hermit card, and I got the Hermit card reversed. But what's interesting to me is that the Hermit card is actually a really great archetype for the topic of meditation. Hi, Rex, this was just what I needed. Yeah, watch it again, because I think you missed the first part of the breathing exercise tutorial, which will be really important for you specifically. So, and I talked a lot about retraining yourself to breathe properly, because most people don't, and that's going to optimize your oxygen intake, especially for you and your particular challenges around your lungs and your breathing. So yeah, take some time and review that when you can. And then if you have any questions, or if there's something else you'd like me to help you with, shoot me a note and let me know. And you know, if there's anything I need to add to that for you, just let me know, because I know that your circumstances is a little you know, I know you've had some challenges. So, okay, so yeah, the Hermit card. So the Hermit reversed is, a lot of that is about dealing with maybe feelings of isolation. For some people, it can be really difficult to spend time alone. For some people, it can be difficult to find the time that you need to spend alone. So if you have any challenges this week about loneliness, isolation, spending time alone versus needing time alone, examine those challenges and see where you're at with that. So ideally, you get to a place where you can really enjoy your alone time without necessarily feeling isolated and alone. Sometimes we just need that to recharge. So the Hermit reverse can represent either two of those extremes, either not wanting to be alone and just feeling unhappy and depressed and lonely if you're not surrounded by people all the time, or really needing to be alone and not being able to find the time to get away to de-stress and recharge your batteries. So look and see where you're at in relationship to that this week, and see if you can find some solutions. If you tend to err on the side of not wanting to be alone and feeling depressed if you don't have the constant stimulation of friends or partners around you, then that tends to be indicative of you really needing to reconnect with yourself in some ways and maybe learning some more self-care techniques to handle any emotional issues or even some depression that you might be going through. So anything you can do to take care of yourself, be nice to yourself, and make your alone time enjoyable is highly recommended. Personally, I'm a huge fan of the bubble bath and the candlelit bubble bath in particular. And one really fun thing you can do, especially for women and guys too, I mean, guys could get into this, is you know, make yourself a bubble bath, light a candle, put on your favorite music, and bring something interesting to drink while you're in the bathtub. I've even been known to bring some chocolate into the bathtub while I'm soaking. So, you know, there's things you can do creatively for self-care to handle your depression as you are learning how to be kinder to yourself, which so many people need to do. So find something that you enjoy, cultivate it, and learn to be happy in some of your alone time if you possibly can. And maybe that means, you know, maybe it means going out and taking an art class or doing something creative that you've always wanted to do that you have, maybe you have just not done things for yourself because you've constantly been doing for other people. So with the Hermit reverse this week, take some time to find out what it is that you need that feeds your soul, that you can do to provide your own self-nurturing and self-care that doesn't rely on depending on somebody else to do it or fix it for you. So that's your challenge for the week. I'll see you next Tuesday at 11 o'clock for grounding and centering techniques, which is going to be the topic. And I think that just about covers it. I went a little over the time I normally do, but it was a little bit of a complex subject. So we'll see you next week. Rex, have a great day. I'll talk to you soon, and have a great week. All right. Bye-bye.